Hi everybody, welcome to Live Blogger. I have combined all the videos in our custom header design series into this single long video so that it's easy for you to follow. Now in this video, we'll create this text animation from scratch using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. And then I will also show you how to add this to your Blogger and your WordPress websites. So for example, this is how it will look on a WordPress website. We have changed the colors a little bit over here to match with our theme, but the animation is still here. Now I will also leave the link of the source code in the description of this video. So let's get started. Alright, so here I have created this folder called menu animation and I just opened it with VS Code. Now let's create the necessary files. So let's create a new file and let's name it index.html. Let's create another file, let's name it style.css. And let's create one more file and let's call it main.js. Let's start with the index.html file. Now in VS Code you can just press exclamation and press tab and you'll have this basic HTML5 code. Alright, let's link our CSS file over here. And here in the body I'll just link the JavaScript file. Right, now let's start with the markup of our design. So the first thing we will do is we'll create a container division. Or let's create a nav element and let's give it a class of custom nav. And in this we will create these different menu items. So let's create a container division for this, and I just create a division with the class of menu text. And in this we need to have the text. Now here we can see that when we hover over this text, we have this text moving up and we have another text coming up from the bottom. So we need to have two text over here. So for the first one, let's add a division with the class of text container. And for the second one, let's create a division and let's give it a class of text container copy. I'll just change this div into an anchor tag so that it can be a link. And here we will add an href and here you can add the link of this page. So for now I'll just type hash. Alright, now the next thing we need to do is we need to write this text, home, about and downloads. So we can just add the text over here. So if I just type home and I just open this in the browser. So I have this extension called live server installed in VS Code. So once you have this installed, you can just right click in the HTML file and click on open with live server. And here we can see that our design is displayed in the browser and here we have home displayed. But if you take a look at this animation, we can see that each of the characters or each of the letters inside the word are animated differently. So we need to separate all of these characters inside this word. Now there are libraries that can split your words into individual characters. But since we don't have a lot of text, we can just do it on our own. So instead of writing home like this, I'll just create span for each of the characters. So let's tap H and let's duplicate this span. Let's duplicate it 3 more times. And for the second one, we need to type O. And for the third one, we need to type M. And for the fourth one, we need to type E. So this is home, but we are separating each of the characters. So now if you go back, here we can see that we have home displayed, but each of these characters are separate. Now we can animate them separately. Now we need to have two text because we need to have the animation of the other text coming up from the bottom. So I'll just go ahead and copy these spans and let's paste them over here inside text container copy. And now let's go ahead and copy this anchor tag and let's paste it 2 more times. And for the second one, we need to type about. So here instead of home, let's type A and here we need to type B, O, U, and we need to duplicate this 1 more time and here we need to type T. And let's copy these spans from here and let's paste them over here inside text container copy. And let's do the same for the third one, which is downloads. So I'll just add it quickly, DOW. N and here let's type L, O, A, D and S. And let's go ahead and copy these spans and let's paste them over here inside text container copy. And now if you go back here, we can see that we have home, about, and downloads. And with that, we have completed writing the HTML. Now let's go ahead and style this using CSS. So we have already linked our CSS file over here. So let's go to the style.css file. And the first thing we will do is we will style the container, which is this nav with the class of custom nav. So let's tap nav, custom nav. And let's go ahead and set a background color. And let's set the color to 023047. And we need to bring all this text one next to the other. So let's type display of flex. Right now let's add some margin. So let's type margin and let's set it to 32 pixels. And let's set the width of this element to 360 pixels. And let's add a box shadow and let's set the values to 0, 3 pixels, 50 pixels, negative 8 pixels RGBA, 0, 0, 0 and 0.3. And let's also add a padding of 8 pixels top and bottom and 24 pixels left and right. Right now let's style this menu text. So this is the anchor tag. In that we have these two text containers. So let's type menu text. And first of all, let's set the color of the text to white. Now if we go back to the original design, here we can see that when we hover over this, when we move the text up, we can see that the text disappears. And for that we will have a specific height for this menu text. So here I'll just type height and let's set the height to 30 pixels. And we will just hide everything outside this division. So let's tap overflow and let's set it to hidden. Alright, now let's go ahead and style this text container and this text container copy. So here let's type menu text, text container, and menu text, text container copy. And let's go ahead and set the font family to Roboto and sans serif. And let's remove the underlines. So let's tap text decoration and let's set it to none. And now let's go ahead and set the font size to 20 pixels. And let's set the font weight to bold. Now we can see we have some gap between these characters. So let's set the display to flex. And now we can see we don't have any gap. Alright, now let's go ahead and set the position of this text container and text container copy to absolute. And we will set it relative to this menu text. So here we need to type position relative. And here we need to type position absolute. And now we can see that nothing is being displayed. So here we also need to add a width. So let's set the width to 100%. And now we can see that the text is being displayed. Right now let's go ahead and bring this to the center. So let's tap top of 50%. And now it starts from the 50% mark. So here we also need to type transform, translate Y, negative 50%. And now it is exactly in the center. Right now when we hover over this text, we need to move them up. So here we can see that we have all these spans inside the text container. So let's move all of them up. So here let's type menu text, colon hover, and let's tap text container, span. And here let's tap transform and translate Y. And let's set the value to negative 30 pixels. And we'll also rotate it a little bit. So let's tap rotate X. And let's set the angle to 180 degrees. And we'll also set the opacity to 0. And let's also add a smooth transition to this. So here I'll just type menu text, text container, span. And here let's tap transition, all. And let's set the duration to 700 milliseconds. And let's type ease. And we can see that the text moves up. Now the other text that we added, which is the text container copy, is still here. So by default we need to bring it to the bottom, and when we hover over this we need to bring it to the top. So here let's go ahead and target the text container copy. So let's go ahead and type menu text, text container copy, and here let's type transform, translate Y, and let's try 20 pixels. And let's set the color of the text to yellow. And now let's add the hover effect. So let's tap menu text, colon hover, and text container copy, span. And here I'll just copy this line of code and let's paste it over here. Now here instead of rotate X 180 degrees, let's set it to 0. And by default, we need to set it to rotate 180 degrees. So let's go ahead and type menu text, text container copy, span, and let's paste the line of code. And here let's type translate y to 0 and rotate x, and let's set it to negative 180 degrees. And by default, we will set the opacity to 0 for the second text. And here we need to set the opacity back to 1. So let's type opacity 1. And let's also add a transition for this. So I'll just copy this and let's paste it over here. Right now, let's go ahead and test it out. So let's hover over this and we can see that the animation is working all right. We have the first text going up and the second text coming up from the bottom. I think the position of both the text are not exactly correct. So here, I'll just change this a little bit. Here, I'll just let's try 19 pixels. And now I think the position is correct. So all the text animation are working. Right now, the last thing we need to do is we need to animate each of the characters separately. Now for that, we can add transition delay to each of the spans. So we need to add different transition delays to all of them. So for the first one, we need to add 0. For the second one, we will add, let's say, 100 milliseconds. And for the third one, let's say we will have 200 milliseconds and so on. But it would be difficult to do that because we have a lot of spans and we also have different number of spans in different text containers. So let's automate this task using JavaScript. So we have already linked our JavaScript file over here. So we need to target all these menu text divisions. So these are basically anchor tags. So let's target all these menu text anchor tags. So let's go to the main.js file and let's type const and I'll just call it all menu text equals document.querySelector all because there are multiple elements. And here let's type menu text. Now this will store all the menu text anchor tags inside this constant. Now let's loop through all the menu text. So let's type all menu text dot for each, and I'll just call each of them M. You can name this anything you want. And first of all, let's target all the characters inside text container. So I'll just type const and I'll just call it all chars equals, and we need to select all the characters inside this particular menu text. So we are calling it M over here. So let's type M dot query selector all, and let's type text container, and in that we have spans for each of the characters. Right now, let's go ahead and loop through all these characters. So let's type all chars dot for each, and I'll just call each of the characters C, and let's add different transition delays to each of the characters. So let's type C dot style dot transition delay equals. Now for adding the transition delay, we will also take into account the index. So I'll just add an I over here. So you can call this anything you want, but the second argument over here is the index. So what we're going to do is we're going to type I times, let's try 30, and then we will add milliseconds. So what we are doing over here is that we are adding 30 milliseconds times the I, which is the index, as the transition delay. So in the beginning, the I will be set to 0 because arrays start from 0. So it will be 0 times 30, which is 0 milliseconds. So for the first character, it will have a transition delay of 0. And then for the second time, it will have a value of 1. So then it will be 1 times 30, which is 30 milliseconds. So the transition delay of the second element will be 30 milliseconds. And in the same way, we'll have a value of 2 for the third one, and it will be 2 times 30, which is 60 milliseconds, and so on. So let's do the same for all the characters inside this text container copy. So I'll just copy these lines of code and let's paste it down here. And here, instead of all chars, I'll just type all chars copy. And here, instead of text container, let's type text container copy, because we have this division with the class of text container copy. And here, instead of all chars, let's type all chars copy. Right now this should work, so let's go ahead and test it out. So let's hover over this, and we can see that we have the animation added for each of the individual characters. So everything is working all right. Now you can go ahead and change these transition delays to your needs. You can also change this transition duration to whatever you need. So that's basically how you can create this menu animation using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Right here I have logged into my Blogger dashboard, and if I go over here to theme, I'm using this theme called Contemporite, which comes by default with Blogger. Now let's open this website. So let's click on View Blog. And this is how this website looks right now. Now let's go ahead and add this animated menu to our Blogger header. So right now we can see that we have this header over here. Now let's go ahead and remove this header, and let's add this menu animation. And we'll also need to add a logo on the left side. So we'll just modify this code a little bit. So let's go ahead and right click over here and go to inspect, and let's see how this website is structured. So here we can see that we have this header element, and in that we have all this header content. So we can just go ahead and remove this header element from here in the theme code, and we can add our own custom code. So let's go back to our dashboard, and let's click on this arrow and let's click on edit HTML. And here's the theme code, and we can make changes over here. So before making any changes, you can go ahead and copy all this code from here and paste it into a safe place so that you have a backup. Right now let's go ahead and search for the header. So I just press Command F. If you are using Windows, you can just press Control F, and let's search for less than header. And here we can see this is the header tag. So I'll just go ahead and fold this, and we can just go ahead and delete this header tag because we don't need it. We will add our own custom code over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a container division, and on the left side we will have a logo, and on the right side we will have this animated menu. So let's create a division, and let's close it over here, and let's go ahead and give it a class. So let's give it a class of custom nav container, and in this we will have the logo. So let's create an anchor tag for the logo, and in the href we will add the link of the home page. So let's go back over here and let's copy this, and let's paste it over here inside the href. So when someone clicks on the logo, they should go to the home page. And here inside this anchor tag, I'll just tap lb dot. You can add an image if you want over here. I'll just add this text, and then we will add this menu container. So let's go to the source code, and let's go to the HTML file, and this is the menu. So let's copy this nav element from here, and let's paste it over here. So here we can see we have this logo, and then we have this nav element. Now here we can see we have these three menus. We have home, about, and downloads. Now you can go ahead and change these to whatever you want, and just add the links of the pages over here. So here instead of this hash, you can add the link of your downloads page, and so on for all the other anchor tags. Right now let's go ahead and add the CSS. So if you scroll up, here we can see that we have the CSS of the theme code. So let's go ahead and add a comment over here, and let's tap custom nav, and let's add the CSS over here. So let's go back to our source code, and let's go to the CSS file. Let's copy all the CSS from here, and let's paste it down here. And now let's add the JavaScript. So let's go over here and let's copy this JavaScript code from here, and let's go back and let's scroll down and let's go to the end of our theme code. And here just before the body tag ends, I'll just create a script tag, and we will add the JavaScript code over here. So let's paste it right here. Right now we need to make some changes in the CSS. So let's go ahead and first of all save this, and let's see how it looks. And let's go back to our website and let's reload this page. And now we can see that the header is not being displayed, and we have this animated menu displayed over here, but we need to make some changes in the CSS. So first of all, let's go ahead and right click over here and go to inspect. And if you take a look at this, here we can see that we have this main division with a class of custom nav container, and we will set the display of this to flex so that these elements are over here and on the extreme right side. And let's go ahead and add a display of flex over here. and let's tap justify content to space between. And now we can see that we have the logo on the left side and these menu items on the right side. Now if you scroll down, we can see that the header also goes up. Now we want this to be fixed over here. So here we need to select this, and we need to type position of fixed. Now when we set the position to fixed, we can see that the width of the element is affected. So for that we need to type left of 0 and right of 0. And now we can see that it has this full width. Now we need to set the width according to the width of all the other elements of our website. So let's right click over here and let's see what is the width of the element. So let's right click and go to inspect. And here we can see for the article we have a width of 890 pixels. We can see it right here. So let's add a width of 890 pixels. So let's go over here to custom nav container, and here let's add a max width of 890 pixels. And let's also bring it to the center. So let's tap margin and let's set it to 0 auto. And now we can see that it is in the correct place. So let's add these lines of CSS, and here let's go to the CSS, and here let's tap custom nav container, and let's paste the CSS over here, and let's save this. And let's go back to our website, and the next thing we need to do is we will add a background color over here. So let's right click and go back to inspect, and let's select the container division, and here for the custom nav container let's add a background color, and let's set it to white, and let's go ahead and set the top value to 0, and let's also add a box shadow. So let's tap box shadow, and let's set the values to 0, 3 pixels, 50 pixels, -8 pixels, RGBA 000 and 0.3. And now we can see that we have a lot of height for this element. So let's set a height. So we will set the height to, let's try 50 pixels. And I think that looks alright. And now we can see that the menu items have moved down because we have some margin added to it. So if we take a look at this custom nav, here we can see that we already have set a margin of 32 pixels over here. Now if we go ahead and remove the margin, we can see that we don't have any problems. So let's do that. First of all, let's go ahead and copy the CSS that we added. So we have these 4 lines of CSS, and then we need to remove the margin from custom nav. So let's copy this and let's paste it over here. And here let's go to the custom nav, and let's remove the margin, and let's save this. And let's go back to our website and let's reload this page. I think the font size of this menu item is a little bit too large, so let's reduce that a little bit. So if you go over here to menu text, I think we have added the font size over here, or I think we have added it over here inside text container. So here we have set the font size to 20 pixels. Let's go ahead and change this to, let's try 18 pixels. I think that looks alright. So let's go back, and here let's set the font size to 18 pixels. And the next thing we will do is we need to bring all the content of the website down a little bit because of this fixed nav menu. So let's right click over here and go to inspect, and here we can see that we have this division with the class of page body, and we need to add a padding top to it so that all the content of the website is displayed correctly. So here let's try padding top. Let's try 50 pixels, and I think that looks alright. So let's go ahead and add this padding top of 50 pixels for this page body. So let's copy this selector, and let's go back and let's paste it over here, and let's tap padding top of 50 pixels, and let's save it. But now let's go back and let's reload this page, and now we can see we have this gap between the nav bar and the content of the website. Now if we scroll down, we can see that we can see through this nav bar. So we need to add a z index to this custom nav container. So let's go back, and here let's add a z index, and let's add a higher value. Let's type 700, and let's save it. Right now let's go ahead and reload this page. And now we can see that when we scroll down, we have the nav bar at the top of all the other content of the website. Now let's go ahead and style this logo. So let's right click over here and go to inspect. And here we can see we have this anchor tag. Let's also give it a class. So let's go to the header. And here for the logo, let's add a class. And let's set the class to logo. And let's go ahead and add some styles. I'll just save this. And let's go back and reload this page. And let's right click over here and go to inspect. And now we can see we have a class of logo. So let's style this. Let's set the font size to 18 pixels. Let's set the font weight to bold. And let's set the color of the text to black. So let's go ahead and copy these 3 lines of CSS. And let's paste it for the logo. So here let's type custom nav container logo. And let's paste the CSS. And now if we go back here, we can see that the logo is not in the center vertically. So let's right click over here and go to inspect. And let's select the container division, which is custom nav container. And we have already set the display to flex. So here we need to type align items to the center. And now we can see that it is in the center. Let's also go ahead and add some padding. So here, let's set a padding of 0 for top and bottom and 32 pixels left and right. Now when we added the padding, we can see that the width of the element has changed. Now if you want the width to be the same, then you have to go ahead and type box sizing, and you have to set it to border box. Now we can see that we have the correct width. So let's go ahead and add this CSS. So let's copy these 2 lines of CSS, and we also need to add align items to the center. So here let's paste the CSS and let's type align items, and let's set it to center. And let's save it. And let's go back to our website and let's reload this page. And now we can see that on the right side we have some padding. So let's remove the padding from the right side. So here we can just type padding right of 0. And I think we can also decrease the width of this custom nav element. So let's select it. And right now the width is set to 360 pixels. Let's decrease it a little bit, and I think 320 pixels looks alright. So let's make these changes. We need to set the width to 320 pixels, and we need to remove the padding right of custom nav container. So here let's type padding right 0, and for the custom nav, which is right here, let's set the width to 320 pixels, and let's save it. And let's go back to our website and let's reload this page. Now here we can see that it doesn't have the correct height for this element because we have this white line displayed at the top and the bottom. So let's right click and go to inspect. And right now we don't have any height set. So let's try a height, and let's add the same height that we added for this custom nav container. And we can see that we have a height of 50 pixels. So here for the custom nav, let's set the height to 50 pixels. And now we can see that the height has changed, but it is more than 50 pixels because we also have this padding over here. So we also need to add box sizing, and we need to set it to border box. And now we can see that we have the correct height. So let's go ahead and add these 2 lines of CSS to the custom nav. So let's copy these and let's paste it over here. And let's go ahead and save this. And let's go back to our website and let's reload this page. And everything looks alright. So let's hover over this, and we also have the animation working alright. Now you can add the links of these pages over here inside the HTML code. And let's click on one of these posts. And here also we can see that everything looks alright. We have the gap at the top. And if we click on this logo, we go to the home page. So everything is working alright. So that's basically how you can add this custom animated menu items to your Blogger website. Right here I have logged into my WordPress dashboard, and let's visit the site. And this is how the website looks right now. And the theme that I'm using is this theme called 2021. This is one of the themes that comes by default with WordPress. Now here, instead of this header, we need to add this design. So for that we need to add some custom code to our theme. Now for that you need to install a plugin, and it is called Custom CSS and JS. So just go over here to plugins and click on add new plugin and just search for custom CSS, and you'll find this plugin called Simple Custom CSS and JS, and just go ahead and install and activate the plugin. Once you do that, you will have this option right here called Custom CSS and JS. Now this is where you can add the custom code. So we need to add the code of this design to this custom CSS, custom JS and custom HTML. So first of all, let's go ahead and remove this current header. So if we right click over here and go to inspect, here we can see that we have this header with an ID of masked head. So let's hide this. Let's go back to our dashboard and let's go over here to custom CSS and JS, and let's go to add custom CSS. And here for the title, I'll just type custom header. You can name the title anything you want, and here let's type header with an ID of masked head, and here let's type display of none. And now if you publish this, and if you go back to our website and if I reload this page, here we can see that the default header is now hidden. Now let's go ahead and add our own custom design. So let's go to our source code and let's go to the style.css file, and let's copy all this CSS from here and let's paste it over here. And let's update this, and now let's add the HTML. So let's go here to add custom HTML, and here for the title I'll just type custom header, and let's delete all of this and let's go back and let's go to the HTML file, and let's copy this HTML code from here, this complete nav tag, and let's paste it over here. And since we are using this in a real website, we need to have a logo on the left side and these menu items on the right side. So for that, let's go ahead and create a container division. So here I'll just create a division and let's give it a class of custom nav container. Now in this division we will have a logo on the left side, so I'll just create an anchor tag, and here we need to add the link of the home page. So I'll just copy this link and let's paste it over here. Let's also give it a class of logo, and here let's type lb dot. You can add an image if you want over here. Right, let's close the anchor tag. Right, now let's scroll down and let's close the container division. So here we can see we have this main container division with a class of custom nav container. In that we have the logo, and then we have this nav, and here we have created these menu items. We have home, we have about, and downloads. Now you can go ahead and replace any of this text with whatever you want, and then you have to go ahead and add the links of those pages over here. So for example, here in place of this hash you can add the link of the about us page. So you can go ahead and update all these links and text, and once you are done that, you can go over here to the options and select after body tag, because here we can see that we have added this nav after the body tag. Let's go ahead and click on publish, and now let's also add the JavaScript. So let's go over here to add custom JS, and here let's type custom header as the title. And here let's add the JavaScript. Let's go back to our source code and let's go to the main.js file. Let's go ahead and copy this JavaScript code from here and let's paste it right here. And here to make sure that you are adding it in the footer. And let's go ahead and click on publish. Now we need to add some CSS to the HTML over here. So here we have added this extra anchor tag and this division. So we need to add some CSS for that. But before that, let's go ahead and see how it looks right now. So let's reload this page. And here we can see we have the logo and we have this nav bar. So the custom design is displayed over here. Now let's go ahead and style all of this, and let's bring it over here at the top. And we will set the position to fixed so that when we scroll down, the header will be fixed over here at the top. So let's go to the CSS file. So let's click on edit over here in the CSS. And let's add some CSS. So first of all, let's go ahead and target the container division, which is custom nav container, and let's set the position to fixed, and let's set the top position to 0 and left to 0 and right to 0 so that it has the maximum width it can take. And now let's go ahead and take a look at the width that we need. Let's right click over here and go to inspect, and if you take a look at this header, we can see that we have a width of 1080 pixels. So let's add a width of 1080 pixels. So let's type max width 1080 pixels, and let's add a padding of 0 top and bottom and 32 pixels left and right. for having the correct width and height, let's also set the box sizing to border box. Now let's go ahead and set the display to flex so that this logo is on the left side and these menu items on the extreme right side. So let's tap display of flex and let's align items to the center, and let's tap justify content to space between so that we have space between the two elements. And let's also add a box shadow, and let's set the value to 0, 3 pixels, 50 pixels, -8 pixels, RGBA 0, 0, 0 and 0.3. And let's also set the Z index to a higher value. So let's try 800. And let's set the height of the element to 50 pixels. And let's see how it looks. Let's update this. And let's go back to our website and let's reload this page. And this is how this header looks right now, but we cannot see it clearly because of this admin bar. So let's hide it. Let's go back to our settings and let's go to users and let's click on profile. And here we have this option called toolbar. So let's uncheck it and I'll just update the profile. Let's go back over here and let's reload this page. And now we can see that the admin bar is hidden. And now we need to bring this to the center. So let's go back to the CSS. And here let's type margin 0 auto to bring it to the center. Now here we can see on the right side we have some extra padding. So let's remove the padding from the right side. So here we can see that we had added this padding of 32 pixels. So let's tap padding right 0. Right now let's go ahead and style the logo. So let's type custom nav container, and for the logo we have a class called logo, and let's set the font size to 18 pixels, and let's set the font weight to bold, and let's also remove the underline by tapping text decoration to none, and let's save this. Let's go back and let's reload this page. Now if you scroll down we can see that the content is being displayed through this header. So let's add a background color. So here let's type background and let's set it to white, and now it looks alright. Now on the right side here we can see we have some margin, and it is for this custom nav. So here we can see for the custom nav we have this margin. So let's go ahead and remove the margin. You can also go ahead and change the background color. So I'll just change the background color to white, and we'll also decrease the font size a little bit for this text. And here we can see that after we hover, the text is positioned a little bit to the bottom. So let's fix that as well. So let's go back, and here for the custom nav, for the background color let's set it to white, and let's also remove the box shadow of this. And now let's go ahead and set the font size, and let's set it to, let's try 18 pixels, and let's also decrease the width of this a little bit. So let's try 320 pixels. And now let's update this and let's go back and let's reload this page, and we need to change the color of the text. So let's go back, and here we can see that the menu text color is set to white. So let's set it to black, and when you hover over this the color is set to yellow. So let's change this to another color. So I'll just change it to red, and let's update this. Let's go back and let's reload this page. And here we have these menu items, and if you hover over this we have the red color. Right now let's position this second text a little bit to the top. So let's go back, and here we can see by default it is set to translate Y of 19 pixels. Let's try 15 pixels and update. Let's reload this page, and now I think it looks alright. So the animation is working alright. Now the last thing we will do is we will bring this content of the website a little bit to the bottom because we cannot see it because of this header. So let's right click and go to inspect, and let's see how it is structured. So here we have this division with an ID of content. So let's add a padding top to that. So here I'll just type hash content padding top, and let's set it to 80 pixels, and let's update this. Let's go back and let's reload this page, and now we can see we have this padding at the top. And let's open one of these posts, and here we can see everything looks alright, and we can see that the animation is working alright. You can add the links of your pages over here, and here we have already added the link of the home page. So if I click on that, we go to the home page. Right, so that's basically how you can add this custom header to this WordPress website. Right, so that's it for this video. If you have any doubts, you can ask in the comments below. And if you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel to get the latest video updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.